to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's rock and roll here.
All right, we're going to skip the thing I left on there from last time. There is no surprise, remember. Or maybe that's what you start doing. It's like, we're supposed to check on your chair. All right.
Chair for me. Yeah. To see if you're moving there.
That's all written now.
Oh.
Yeah, put money with the chair.
There you go.
Every week.
Surprises are on.
All right, we're gonna move on to community comments. This is for non-agendized items.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So, last meeting we had, they said, oh, go down a regional plan, make yourself out a plot map. And after she said, oh, yeah. So, apparently, for the last 18 to 20 years, I've been illegally using my property. And it should have been zone M1 rather than C3. So, looking into these things, what am I able to do? Got to open some kind of small business or something that has to do with it. I'm in the floodway, so if you do build a building, it's got to be where water goes underneath it, blah, blah, blah. So I really want to do this. So there's other options. I mean, I need to be able to use property. What do we make? A homeless camp. We can't bring the RVs. They're going to write me up for it. So, okay, I need a reason to be able to park my own stuff and use overseas containers and et cetera on that land. So, another option. Solar panels. Do the whole thing solar panels where they raise up off the ground and water goes underneath them. I can park my boat on there just in case we have a I got something to ride it out in. And then on any RV, I got to have the RV park there. Why do you need an RV park, sir, with all your solar panels? Because the fentanyl camp next door. Fume. And fires in here. Okay, so obviously I got issues. I'm trying to figure out what to do with this. I do have some help looking into it. And what I'd like to ask is that, I didn't want to create this up, but I just want to share something. Okay. This is year 2000, October 5th, 05. Here I am, the ribbon cutting in front of the park. All of his donation stuff and having them back. And helping them do all, okay, cool. That's another reason I gotta have that. Somebody died at the cemetery. The other guy, he's not around. Did you give a whole first round? Yeah. That's my problem. That he sees that. All the work is done. Always had the battle. Anybody needs it for whatever. Okay? Here's one more that I've been around with for. Okay, this is 03 and 04. Active Citizen of the Year. Really, me? You got the right guy. Okay, so I've been around here. So what I'd like to ask, and then if it's impossible, so no hard feelings or nothing, but before I go to try to change my zoning to M1 so I can use it, unless I can find another reason where I can use it. For example, is that I would like to ask for an anonymous vote on DM1 community. And if we can't do it, I understand. So, if you guys could, through the month, maybe even a month, let me know, before I hand them $24,000 just for the application.
And that is the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. But in the meantime, everything that was on that property that I've been written up, everybody's home, eating Christmas dinners and all that, I mean, not Christmas, Thanksgiving dinner and stuff. I'm out there, I got that place empty this week, there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's gone. And, but,
I look.
yeah, it's, I mean, I'm throwing out really good stuff. Who throws out slot machines? Okay, all right? I mean, but, so I need things that, I need somewhere to put stuff. So in the meantime, now the property at the house is vacated except for one box. I'm gonna build a garage.
You moved as far as containers,
Yeah,
that is.
no, I'm just trying to think of something great.
Have you talked to a lawyer?
Not yet.
Yeah, because my only experience is the labor relations. And when we dealt with you, if something was done for an extended period of time and it was accepted by both parties, then that's the way it's done. And, but I don't know how real estate law is kind of, in labor relations, that's how we handle it. So I was wondering, if you, 18 years of accepting this and treating it like it's an M1, it should be considered an M1.
Yeah, I would hope, I mean, but,
But you'd have to talk to lawyers one time.
yeah, and then from my building, what we don't need is another trailer park. But if I was buying it, it'd be a different story. But,
Hey, Don, do you know where he lives? Do you know where he's talking?
No.
Downtown Acton, right across the street from Cactus Creek.
Yeah, where the,
Right across from the new grocery store,
Oh,
what I
okay,
call the
okay.
new one.
across from the 49er, across from the new market,
From the
and
bank.
next to Fentanyl City.
Yes.
And the problem is, the county changed its zoning years ago without telling him.
Right.
From what?
But,
From M1
No,
to
rural. To rural,
and T3
yeah.
yeah, it was C3.
With no discussion, he was just. Done. I mean, you started out as a comedian, I know where you're at. I'm so frustrated with what the county has done with your property. I've said this last construction
Yeah.
yard I've ever been on in my life. I've been in construction my entire life. I wish that my yard looked like yours. I don't have it anymore, but it never looked that good. And I had equipment parked on it just like you, my dozer, my backhoe, my bobcat, it had it all. His looks perfect. And now he's moved his own personal property.
I'm not even allowed to park my car.
His beautiful Corvette no longer lives at his house.
67 for the,
It's full of
56,000 original miles.
Because it's commercial, that's why they won't mark anything personal there, it's commercial property.
Exactly.
What if you downgraded your zoning, instead of trying to go at M1, what if you downgraded it to a lesser zoning, like to ag or whatever, and then it's accessory use to storage?
Well, he has storage. I've got a person.
Yeah,
But when it's commercial, it's got commercial boundaries. And if it's ag use, then it would be considered like your home is allowed to have accessory use, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can have all that if it was like residentially zoned or.
He's got residential.
It's actually rural, it's CRU now.
But commercial,
Yeah, the commercial designation is what we use it up.
yeah, it's holding you to a higher standards.
I don't know how broad the commercial has to be, like, I was like, well, what if that permit's still in there and you have business?
And his boat.
Well, yeah,
And his
but
truck.
what if the businesses that people think? The Corvette once a year.
Yeah.
It's not that open for that business. I don't
There's
know.
150 uses for that. But it isn't what Ron has been doing all these years. He's a con,
It's been basically open source, and it's not, if it's a tractor, if it's my neighbor's RV, it's part of his house. That, I was just helping him out, you know, this is how I bring it from, part of the RV, man, I'm not using that property over there, go ahead. But I got a problem, he's there helping, there's no money, this is barter, this is just friends and friends.
and this is the gift, and thank you to Ron for everything you did for our Acton Park, and for bringing your backhoe over when we needed grave dug.
Yeah, that's something.
Okay, nobody's paying for that, nobody's, whatever.
$24,000 was because you're trying to go to M1.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
And if you were downgrading to an ag or a residential,
One step downgrade from that one, that's why.
okay, but you need
That would be
commercial
the
rural.
house, which I'm at, which is residential.
Yeah, but then you can use the property differently than what's designated commercial.
So then who's gonna pay him back all of the taxes that he's paid for the seed property for the 20-something years? And why would you want to downgrade
Well, I
to?
mean, if he wants to keep a commercial, like, yes, it makes it more valuable, but it also limits it.
Yeah.
That's the catch-22 that he's in here.
And when he gets it downgraded to residential, it'll be even less valuable. Right on the corner of Crown Valley Road and Smith, it's gonna be worth what? I'm looking at it as a realtor, as realtor, what's it worth?
I don't know what he wants to use it.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I'm just.
No, I see what you're saying, I see what you're saying, it's like, yeah,
It's unfair what's going on. Or instead of right across the street from where he is, the bank could have gone there. I don't know, the Ace Hardware, all of the stuff that's right there within a block of him.
I sold. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And all this property, the old Acton Park, you get a hold of my building.
Oh.
Hold on, I got one.
Yeah.
Gone.
I said 2020, right?
But anyway, so, if it's something that might be able to be discussed.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely, I think the, just to set expectations, this is the only meeting we're having in December.
Yeah.
And then we'll have January, 6th or whatever the vote is. Next opportunity, so we'll be in contact and let you know if it's gonna be discussed soon.
Great, yeah. I mean, it's something to throw out, that's the situation, we can see what it is, look at the property now.
What about a CUP, keeping it commercial? Rural, could he get permission to use it?
Like that, that's great.
It could be, I mean,
Yeah, but a CUP needs less money than trying to change the zone to M1. But it would allow you to do, because I know that there's storage, is it the ISCO property that's?
Jackie, try coming off mute.
They're considering it to be outside storage because they were supposed to be selling. And evidently they are more.
That's not true. It's still not zoned properly. It might be taken of the property to the west of,
Okay, the one. Across the street, it's just the equipment, it's not the office.
Jackie, could you hear what we were discussing?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to observe, I've in the last 10 minutes just gone through the first half of what you can do with rural commercial. But one of the things you can do is tool rentals, including rototillers, power mowers, sanders, and saws, cement, and other equipment, including heavy machinery or trucks exceeding 2 tons capacity. Now, I don't know how heavy machinery is designed or is defined, but I would think a backhoe would be heavy machinery.
right.
they did.
Did they tell you it was not heavy machinery backhoe?
No, that would be heavy, and actually, any machinery out there, but, how heavy are you
Exceeding
able to
2
go?
tons capacity.
It sounds like there's no ceiling to it, it's just a floor. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, here's an idea, there's a lot of things that I have to look at. myself, put them in by myself, rusty dinosaurs, and any classes to move it. Okay, and if I'm open 1 hour a month,
That's what I'm saying, is that, and there's probably some creative ways around it.
some. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
if there was a way to do that, that eliminates any of this. But in the meantime, we'll do it. We got our handicap parking, we'll leave off 1 hour a month. You don't forget the sunset.
Ron, didn't Dan Derringer tell me off of the commercial?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where the confusion came in for me, Jackie, because his buckets, his,
Well, but the separation there, it is, maybe I'm not, these, we do.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, I read, it says excluding heavy machinery, I apologize, I misread it. No, sorry.
Yeah, then Jack,
I'm still going through the list, so, I mean, it's a long, long list.
There's something like a CUP could allow that use.
I have to go through the list, I haven't gone through the list, so, but, remember this, first of all, you turn this property into M1, and whatever site plan the county approves for you, it won't have to comply with the zoning, and even if it doesn't comply with the zoning, the county won't do anything about it. And here's the problem. What's supposed to happen when you do a zone change is it's supposed to be zone change with the DP. And the DP stands for Development Program. And what the code says about DP is that whatever the site plan is that you submit, you have to stick to that. You can't build anything else other than what the site plan says that you promised to build for the zone change. And that's what the code says. And every time this community has approved a project where they had a DP zone change, the developer has built what they promised. For example, Santiago Square is DP. Where Acton Auto Park, that's all DP. Where pizza place is, that's all DP. And the property owner built what they said they were going to build, so everything was fine. But in the last 20 years, regional planning has decided that once you get a zone change, anything in that property that's allowed in the zone, no matter what you promised when you got the zone change. And that's the problem. We already have 150 acres of illegal outdoor storage, of which we sent regional planning 2 weeks ago, many pictures of them, right? Of all them, all the junkyards. And they are junkyards, I'm sorry, they are. And none of them comply. This won't be any different. Ron's a great guy, but the next owner is not gonna do what Ron does. And there has to be an answer to that problem. There just does.
Figure out how to work it out.
Jackie, what do you mean by the other storage yards are all junkyards? I mean, would you say that?
They're all illegal. None of them have the block walls that is required in the code. None of them have landscaping. None of them have, all of them have their stuff right up against, if they have a chain link fence, it's right up against it.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues in the past about, that you weren't allowed to put up a solid wall because you're in flood zone.
Yeah.
So that's why, if you see, somebody got one lands around here, have a chain link fence, but they have trees, bushes in them that are growing through them, which they allow because it's like water and flow. And the solid wall.
There are many junkyards that are not in floodplains that do not have the walls. None of them, not one has the wall, regardless of whether it's in the junkyard. The county doesn't require it.
Well, the last thing I would want is a solid block wall down the back and all the way around my place.
We'd have it would be flooded, just like in 2017 when we had the big flood.
And you wouldn't be able
Except for that's what the code requires. A block wall, or they say solid paneling that's equivalent. I mean, it's what the code says, it's not me.
Right. Right.
I know, but Jackie, regional planning doesn't approve that.
That's the problem, we can't even get regional planning to follow the code.
All right, well, I think it sounds like there's more homework to do. I don't know if you're in that yet, but.
Right.
And we're gonna agree that we know this is something to address, so, we can have anything.
Well, the problem to me is it's about property rights, and maybe as my profession, what I retired from, it was a big deal to protect property rights. But, okay, I'm gonna start.
No, you're good.
No, it's fine. Because there's blue smoke coming out of my ears now. Nobody needs to see that.
Okay, well, real fast, even in a CRU zoning, if no matter what I'm doing in there, does that have to have? Could that have a chain link fence? I don't want a chain link fence, we got a pipe rails around there, that's pretty much fine, isn't it?
That's what regional planning said. And your site plan.
As far as I know, we had to fight, regional planning was going to prohibit chain link fence throughout the county. They tried to do that, Supervisor Barger swooped in at the last second and struck those parts of the regulation that regional planning tried to pass and made them not applicable in the Antelope Valley. But as far as I know, we've never had a problem with chain link. The problem is when you have these storage yards, and we all know, we've seen them, there's in some of these, I mean, it looks gross. And so that's why they're supposed to be solid walls. And you know, to protect people from having to look at all of these illegal storage, and everybody knows where they are. They're in East Acton, they're in West Acton, they're in South Acton, they're in Central Acton. So the block walls are a problem. There has to be some sort of walls that comply with the standard though. And you can, there are plenty of places that build block walls that are elevated up, you know, they're on pylons, so they're up about 6 inches and they let water flow off the building, flow off of property. So I don't know what regional planning has said or done. I just know, in your case, to you, I just know what they've done in the past, and it's ridiculous.
If you ever look at the New Acton market, I think they got 2 to 3 foot raised up off the ground, so water goes through it. And it's aimed right at my place, that's why we gotta have the boat.
It's a commercial rescue service.
Okay.
All right. Yep.
You got it.
All right. Thank you. Any other community comments before the law? All right. Anything else?
I have nothing.
Okay. All right. Library report.
Okay, so first up, I'll just mention a couple of programs we've got coming up on, let's see here, Thursday of this week at 10 a.m. We're having Ms. Sherry speak that we have the, on Saturday, December 7th, from 12 to 2:30. That's when we have our gingerbread house program. Registration is full for it, but if you're interested, still come online, get on the wait list. You never know, maybe someone will cancel and you'll get in. So I always encourage that. And then just for upcoming holidays, on Christmas Eve, December 24th, and New Year's Eve, December 31st, the library will be closing early at 5 o'clock those evenings, and then we'll be closed on Christmas Day, the 25th, and on New Year's Day, June. That's what I've got. Unless anyone's got questions for me?
Just, I meant to ask you earlier, January 6th, there's nothing special going on at the library weekend, obviously, New Year's, but if there's nothing, we're good. Okay.
Unless there's nothing I'm aware of.
Good, just making sure. Yeah, but never seen this, sorry. All right. Representative John? Nothing?
Nothing in particular for me.
Nothing in particular, okay. Let's see if there's anybody on there. From any of the other agencies. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, that's true. All right, then Deputy Martinez, you're up.
Hey guys, hope everyone had a good holiday.
Yeah.
All right. All right. For the month of November, we had 1 Part 1 crime and 16 property crimes, which brings our grand total to 98 for the year, which is year over end, with 309 calls for service in the month of November. I sent you guys the stats. The other thing is I kind of threw it up on Facebook. I know half people loved it, half people had a conundrum about it, but it is the off-roading is here. As a reminder, you're allowed to ride your dirt bikes or OHV vehicles on your own property. Outside of that, you are trespassing. It's not so much the actual dirt bikes itself. I'm always subject to noise and dust. In the winter, the dust is not really that much of an issue, but the noise, you're always can get cited for that. If you are riding on someone else's property, you have to have written permission on your person, and we will verify that. So, like, if you hand scratch something says Jeremiah, whatever, let me ride over here, and we can verify that that's not true. I think that's about it. I don't know if you guys have anything for me.
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. I'll stay on.
All right, except Metro, the Highway 14 project. So if you guys want to share, then if I get the.
Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Danielle with LA Metro. I'm in community relations at Metro. And it's a real pleasure to be able to be part of this team and also for the opportunity to the Rural Town Council for inviting us to your meeting to share an update. We really appreciate that time on your agenda. And I recognize some familiar faces from our community meetings, our scoping meetings we recently had. So it's great. Some of this is very repetitive, but you'll be experts by the time you're done. So thank you again for your engagement and your outspokenness and your letting us know how you feel. So we're in the scoping period right now, which is legally set on the SM14 this week. We're just kicking off the start of our environment study for potential improvements to the SM14 freeway. So this is that initial kickoff stage of assessing what we can do to make improvements on the SM14 onto the highway. So bear with us, because what you're going to hear is sort of the context of what we're considering for study to move forward into deeper analysis. And why we're here is to really hear your feedback tonight of what you think we should study. It's really a listening session about what do you experience on the SM14? How does it affect your day-to-day commute? And tell us what you feel you would like us to study so that Caltrans, which is our lead agency on this in LA Metro, with the NCTC, the LA County Northern Corridor Transportation Coalition, we want to hear, because as agencies with technical experts in the building, we need to know from the locals what you experience, and we need that on the record. So before we get too deep on that, I want to really tell you that while you can vocalize to us tonight and whatever you want to say verbally, what really counts because of the legal process for it is writing it down. So we have comment cards right there. So you can write your comments tonight. You can still vocalize, but write it down. And then we have an email address, which we'll share with you. We have a telephone hotline where you can call and just leave a voicemail between now and December 4th. So just you want to get your comments in writing on that voicemail so we can officially count it through December 4th. So we started our comment phase October 21st. It was a 45-day comment period. We're closing it December 4th. Once we get all the comments and review all the comments from the public, we're going to figure out what we're doing moving forward in terms of what we're going to study more deeply and what we're really going to carry onto an environmental document for full analysis. So your feedback is helping to co-create with us what hopefully will be a really meaningful study moving forward that hopefully addresses a lot of what you want to see and see what we can do while we're still early So with that, I want to introduce my project manager, Robert Machuga, who is LA Metro Deputy Executive Officer at LA Metro, and been with Metro a long time. We also have, I think I saw Josh here in space, but welcome, good to see you. And we have Arthur Pekin with the LA County Northern Florida Transportation Coalition, who's a key partner on this effort. And Arthur, did you want to say anything?
No, that's great.
Okay.
Let's let this
So,
person and time, we'll just keep going.
We'll keep going. So Arthur has been NCTC is a big funder with this, and so it's really funded through your northern corridor cities, and we'll get more to that in a minute. Next slide, please. Next slide. So why we are here? Well, Arthur, I'll say it for you, but essentially, if I can read it up here with my glasses, we're considering how we can enhance safety and improve mobility on the North LA County on the state route SR 14 between Interstate 5 and Parablossom Highway, also known for high collision rates. I'm sure you've all heard locally here, and it's known for unpredictable travel times. So Metro's collaborating very closely with Caltrans and North LA County Transportation Coalition for how we can improve safety and mobility along this corridor. Next slide. And then with that, purpose and need. Thank you.
Notebooks, just so that people aren't moving around. Honestly, right? It's in the screen, so make it a little easier for everybody. Thank you all for being so gracious and be respectful all the time. I do want to mention, I have an 8 and 10-year-old at home, and we visited a lot of libraries, and this one is really nice. This one. Really nice. So really, I visited quite a few, and I was very impressed. Very beautiful facility I have here. So SR 14, this is the big subject of our conversation here today, and really trying to come up with some solutions that really improve upon the safety and the mobility options that we're really trying to look at this project itself. So we, as part of the project development team, who is not only represented the technical folks at Metro, Caltrans, and some of the other agencies, we've also partnered in making sure that we have representation from the county and the cities as well, so that we can get this feedback. And in the early stages of this process, we developed what's called the purpose and need. What's the purpose and what's the need of the project? And we've been able to identify that there's some segments of the SR 14 have collision rates that are higher than statewide average. So safety is really the important impetus of this project. 70% of the collisions that are actually occurring on SR 14 are either because of side swipes or rear ends. And when we started analyzing that, really started identifying that it's that merging issue that is really the problem. So if anybody's experienced, you are trying to merge into the freeway and you see a semi-truck behind you, you don't know whether to step on it or really slow down because you're now having to play chicken with semi-trucks and other vehicles. Or if you're trying to get out, right? And you've heard a comment about, getting trucks out for lane number 1 because it's just a hodgepodge. So we're looking at what can we do, right, with the system that we have in place right now and be able to facilitate that type of movement so that we can reduce those collision rates. And then you'll see up here, operational and weaving deficiencies between freeway interchanges. That's just another fancy way to weave, right? When you're having to merge in and weave out of the lanes, that type of weave creates all kinds of issues. And what we're trying to reach with regards to our goals is really safety and mobility options, improve mainline operations and ramp configuration. So when you're merging in, is there enough space for you to speed up and then start merging in? Providing multimodal options. SR 14 is very advantageous that there is other facilities such as Metrolink. There's junior buses that traverse on SR 14. How can we look at those options and being able to enhance them for the folks that are taking those facilities and making things a little easier for everybody? Diversion into parallel routes. So everybody's experienced this. You're on 14, you see a sea of red lines. What do? Yeah. You get off and you get on Sierra Highway. Now you're further congested Sierra Highway and the roll system, so just jump up. So I better create efficiencies and making the flow of traffic move smoothly on SR 14. You don't have to diverge off onto Sierra Highway and other parallel streets. So that's what really we're looking at and some of the major goals that we've got on the project itself. Just improving the system performance of the system, wildlife and habitat connectivity. There are currently culverts that allow the safe passage of of wildlife out there that go from the east to the west and vice versa on the 14. But really, it's really for the safety of vehicles as well, so that we're not creating any further collisions because of free animals that are out there. Next slide. This is a map of SR14. What really wanted to point out in this map right here is this stretch of 30 miles. And it's kind of broken up into 3 segments. Segment 1, not by based on priority, but just as a number, 1, 2, and 3. And what we started looking at early on is looking at what can we be most advantageous, and even with the limited amount of resources that we've got on the project. Now, something very important about this. This is a project that's locally being funded by the subregion, by the North County funds, that have identified this as such a high priority that they've allocated funding to do this level analysis. Now, money hasn't been, let's get a robust analysis of this corridor so that we can become successful in future grant opportunities. And this is part of that, getting that feedback from the locals and really justifying the project. But because of those limitations, we ended up identifying that we should have the segments 1 and 2 as being the area for study, the analysis and the environmental document. Segment 3 that you see up here, it can be studied at a future date when once we come to that. So this is one of those things that it's very tough to make those decisions right on because of these funding restrictions and going on that method with how to make these kind of decisions. But as mentioned, this is only being funded through the subregion itself, and that's these mountains. It's really putting the subregion in a position saying, look, this is so important to us that we're willing to fund this piece and this analysis in order to move it forward to the next phase in design. Arthur?
Thank you, Al. Arthur Sohagian, I'm the Executive Director of the North Los Angeles County Transportation Coalition, Joint Powers Authority.
Even the acronym belongs to that.
Yeah, try it on me. So, what is that? And why I just wanted to give you because when Robert keeps mentioning sub-regional funds and your tax dollars, I just wanted to pause right there to give you the description of what that is, okay, and who we are. We are you. We are representing you. So the board, the members of that Joint Powers Authority, Palmdale, Lancaster, Santa Clarita, and Los Angeles County. So those are the 4 members. So those are the tax dollars when Robert talks about in the area. Those are the 3 parts of 3 cities plus the unincorporated Los Angeles County. Call it from the 514 north to the county lines, to the Kern County lines now. Okay. So what we have heard over 20 years from everyone. So the board members are the mayors of the city. Mayor Bishop, Mr. Chris from Lancaster, Marcia McLean from Santa Clarita. So they're all represent, and on the county, it's Catherine Barger, the supervisor sits there on the board. So they're representing you, and what we've heard over all this 14, right? So that's what Robert giving you that context of what he's talking about is we don't have money identified as he rightfully said for environment construction or final design or construction. That money has not been identified in a not the easiest to fund highway world today, right? So that's not funded, but this study is funded. So you often hear getting something shovel ready, clearing the environmental process with, I know Jackie can tell you, can take 3, 4, 5 years. So we knew, you know what, if we don't ever start that process, it's never going to get us a project that we can go find money for. So that's this process we're in, and as Danielle always likes to remind me, we're at the very, very beginning of that. So your comments are very much important and needed in this process. So that's why we're here. But so yes.
When you guys are looking for comments, my comments would be, I'm thinking, I don't know if this is the right stage, but that's what I'm gonna ask is like reversible lanes. Like, hey, the traffic is all very directional, right? Like in the morning, everybody's going south. In the evening, everybody's going north. And if we're not gonna be able to expand, you know, and so is that like the kind of feedback like that you're looking for, or you're like, no, that's way further down the line because?
All of it. Like this, on one of the tests, this would be all of the above. There's really no bad comment. What we want to hear from is the region and the community. What these documents often do is they get attention of other areas also. So you get an environmentalist from somewhere else that may want to comment, or someone that's worried about freeways and not pouring any more concrete. So we really want to hear from the local community. That's what's so important. And Caltrans, who's here tonight, as you know, is the owner and operator of that freeway. And this is, the words they're using nowadays are public engagement. You know, we don't want to just come here and talk to you, throw up a bunch of slides. We really want to hear from you. So, and right now, we've done some public scoping meetings. And this comment period for this first part is open until December 4th. So we'll show you later on here, we'll put the slide on there. You can call, you can email, so we're still good timing that comment, you know, as Robert's saying, and fix this, what we call the accordion, right? 4 to 3 to 2 to 4, it's gonna happen right past you, right? 4 to 3. So the hard issue that Robert's bringing up is the funding to study the entire, because if you think about it, these first 2 segments, study cost is equal to this 1 segment, right? So it gets complicated. So we're doing our best to identify the money and study the whole shovel ready. That's what we're going to try to do, so that if construction money is available, we may build them in phases, but let's try to clear the corridor. So that's truly going to be the goal. And really appreciate Metro and Caltrans, who you'll hear from a second ago. You know, we often can call and complain about this and complain about that. This is your chance to do that. You get to actually complain about what you don't like about the freeway, and you know, signage, lighting, you know, you name it. Tonight, and through this whole process, next few years, is when we want to hear about it. So I just wanted, when you kept saying, I wanted to get a context of who we are.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Some of the work that the years that have led up to this, as Arthur had mentioned, there's been a lot of work as well in trying to analyze and study this order and what can be done. Caltrans calls these project initiation documents, just to understand the breadth of what could potentially be the issues and how to maybe go about them, which leads into the environmental process, which we're currently in right now. It's like, so this is a rendering. This is kind of a graphic of what's going on, especially with the first 2 segments on the corridor. These are kind of the lanes. This would be the HOV lanes in the middle. But you'll see these gaps. And that's where you're experiencing, where you're driving, it goes from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. And you'll see a gap, it disappears, and then boom, all of a sudden it just reappears, right? And it's constant, right? And then that's where we're having some issues. Next slide. These red areas that you'll see here in red and in light orange, those are the areas that we've also identified as delay hotspots. These are where you're really actually identifying that vehicles are just slowing down. And when you're having those merging issues, that's where the traffic starts slowing down.
Real life experience. And I think it's like,
Yeah, very good. And then what's really disheartening is where you see the crash, the red. And those are the collision areas, the collision that have a higher than statewide average rates of collisions. And then so it's a symbiotic relationship, right? You're having these issues, and you're having collisions, and you're having these higher than statewide coverages. So we're looking what can be done in order to eliminate some of these issues. Next slide.
And to your point, some of this, because of the commuting pattern, started at 4:35. So the data is actually reflecting what you live.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not always the fact, right? We talk about data in our lives today and analysis. It doesn't always match up with what you think. This is one of the times where, I mean, literally it starts, unfortunately, at 5:30 in the morning, those accidents, and people trying to get to West LA to commute to work. And what you're also seeing is it's not also just one-way directional anymore. You're having a lot of people that are going north to the defense jobs with Northrop Grumman, from Santa Clarita. We're seeing, I live in Santa Clarita, we're seeing a lot of folks from the San Fernando Valley that are coming up to work in the morning as well. And we're also seeing cross commute between the Antelope Valley and the Santa Clarita Valley. So there's a lot going on, and we don't have a lot of lifelines, as you know, in this area. We have the Antelope Valley line. We're working on that to increase the amount of trains. I know you've worked on that study as well. That comes with good news, bad news as well. So all these come with that good news, bad news, but this is where we really want your input, because whatever you're experiencing and it's bearing these things out, don't just tell us tonight, as Danielle's going to keep saying, and Claudio over there, put your comment down, write it in. We'll hand it in for you if you give us your comments tonight, or just go home, type up the email and hit send.
And what you also notice in purple or blue are the distances. So 3 mile gap. So some of these are small, gaps of 2 miles, but and some that almost extend about 6 miles. So we really sort of try to focus, okay, can we get very specific instead of just adding a whole lane, or is it possible to just be very specific and be able to fix some of those areas instead of just doing something very dramatic. Next slide. So this is the list of various alternatives. And the environmental process, we're required to do a list of reasonable alternatives that really can apply to fixing some of the issues that we're seeing, and really try to focus on the purpose and need of the project itself. We have what's called the no build. Now that's legally required. That provides us with kind of a baseline. So when we do have a build alternative, we can compare to the no build. The no build means just do nothing, right? If we leave everything alone and we just let it be, we try to track that and try to forecast how the traffic's going to be operating in the future years. But then we are also able to identify, compare it to the build alternative. Build alternative, and then you'll see this long acronym of TSM, TDM. I have a whole slide that will talk a little bit more about that, but that's just basically looking at operational improvements. Like what can we actually do on the facility itself without expanding on right away or crazy, but on it. Lane gap closures. This is where we're looking, we identify those gaps, and is it possible to just close them, right? Add a piece of lane so that it could be a continuous strategic about being able to do those improvements. This is like a unique one, removal of the general purpose lane. So one of the first responses that we received was, well, if merging is the issue, why not just get rid of that lane so you don't have merging issues? Yeah, I know it sounds very counterintuitive.
I'm going to find that person. Who's that person?
But that is something we heard very, very passionately about, and making sure that we are able to at least analyze it and study it. Now, this is where it's going to be very important. This is where local context plays a huge role. For a lot of folks in this room, that might not make a lot of sense. But I mean, that is the focus.
Which part so I can avoid those?
Yeah, exactly. But this is why it's so important, is that local context really plays a big role, especially in an area like this where it just doesn't make sense. So that's what truck lining and sending lanes is an opportunity to have a dedicated truck lane so that it allows general purpose vehicles that are using general purpose lane to use their lanes without the issues of goods movements. And just like you mentioned, reversible lanes really could fall under that. So this is where we really are looking for feedback and saying, is there something that we might have missed? Is there anything that we would like to consider further? Please.
Okay, so you're asking the members of this community what we feel are the problems on the 14. What about the input from the Metro tow truck drivers and the CHP and the people that work on the 14 and see the daily grind as well and have to deal with the accidents themselves and kind of understand the weaves and ebbs of the 14 during certain hours, because there have been so many new people that have moved into this community in the past 5 years that have moved from the valley or different parts of Los Angeles to get away from everything. And so many people that have retired from Acton that I personally know and moved out of the state of California to retire or whatever. So we have a whole new a whole new community, if I can say that. A lot of people in Acton are new transplants. And so I feel that the CHP and the Metro tow truck people that work the 14 would be a really huge resource to answer a lot of questions besides the community people that have lived here for a long time, which are fewer and fewer.
No, that's a really good, comments.
Yeah, so we have CHP and the sheriffs, both the county sheriffs and the contracted sheriffs, if you will. So we get quarterly reports from them on data from crash, DUI, arrests, speeding, and all that data goes into those other slides that you saw that Robert. So when they're doing that analysis, they're taking the tow truck driver, the incident calls, incident rates, not so much the, it's the veracity of it, what it was it a side swipe, was it a head-on collision? So all that gets put into those reports that everybody's like, what do you do with all those reports? They wind up with guys like Robert to crunch the numbers.
Yeah.
So those, what you're suggesting is in those numbers you just saw. So those collisions are bearing out that.
It just seems like we're at such,
But let me finish. If you're saying you want to see more enforcement, if you want to see more presence, then that's a comment to make, right? Because that's part of lighting, safety, striping. People sometimes say, we just don't see CHP or any enforcement anymore, right? We see them during construction time around. But so we've had those kind of comments. So I wasn't sure which way you were taking the comment, but they're there.
Well, yeah, real quick, because Orlando says, Deputy Martinez, you
Yes,
had
please.
Jackie said their hand up, so, perfect, yeah. But,
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at the PowerPoint you guys are doing. I have a hard time believing it's 70% due to mergers. I mean, I go almost daily on rollovers somewhere southbound in that area where all those crashes are, and it's always speed distraction almost every single time. When you're going there, it opens up. If I'm not in a marked patrol vehicle and I'm just driving home and I'm just in my private vehicle, everyone, if you're going 80, you're going like a turtle compared to the guy that's passing you at 120, and then it's going around people. It's excessive speed more than anything. And then northbound, some of the traffic stuff obviously is the commuter hours and stuff, but that grade up to Escondido, we have cars that catch on fire every week because they overheat and they pull over the side, and then when they're on fire, everyone slows down to a crawl to rubberneck and look. But it's, I mean, maybe you are getting the reports and stuff, but I would kind of piggyback off what the community is saying is don't talk to the sergeant or lieutenant that's sending you the report. Talk to the guys that are working the road, and they will tell you a completely different story, because that made zero sense to me. It's 100% excessive speeding. That's it.
thank you, Deputy Martinez. Jackie, your hand up?
Yeah, can you go back to the slides where you show that accident information that you just said was on the slides? Okay, so here's my frustration, right? This slide doesn't show the accidents that Deputy Martinez is talking about. This slide doesn't go east of Agua Dulce Canyon Road. So when you talk to our community, you need to show us slides that are relevant to our community. I get that Caltrans doesn't have enough money to fix the 14 in Acton. I get that. But you're still gonna address it in the environmental document. So when you come to a community where this is relevant, you need to have slides for us. And the reason I mention this is because the last time Highway Patrol came to an Acton Town Council meeting, which was many years ago, they told us that the numbers they gave us, he gave us numbers of all accidents in a year that they have in their area, and I'm talking about the highway patrol folks up there in Palmdale, which is where we are part of their precinct, if you will. So they gave us their total number of accidents, and then they gave us the total number of accidents in our area. And when I did the math, I told him it was 25% of the accidents were in Acton. He said no, he disagreed, then he looked at the numbers, and then he said, yes, you're right. A lot of those occur on the 14 freeway. So I'm a little bit frustrated that you don't have accident data for our community or in this area. And all of the things that Deputy Martinez just mentioned, I agree with him on, and it's actually consistent with the stats we actually have received, like I said, a long time ago from Highway Patrol, but it's not reflected in your presentation. So that's a frustration. I would love to see this for our community, because we have life flight helicopters more often than I like to think about right here in Acton, but you aren't showing those statistics, and I don't even know that you have them, because you probably would show them if you did. That's one concern. And the second concern I have is that, and I assume the town council is going to vote to write a comment letter. The deadline's 15 December, so that's only a week and a half away. But I'm sorry, when is it?
December 4th. 2 days.
Oh, 4th, okay, all right. I'm sorry, I thought it was the 14th. Oh, now I've lost what the, I've lost what the other thing was. I'm sorry. So maybe I'll raise my hand back up once I remember.
But Arthur Sohagen again, for those that can't see. So yes, to what the deputy's saying on the speed, but again, part of that speed and is when it's geometrically part of the freeway losing a lane. And yes, what he's saying, if you're doing 120 on that far lane, now you're going to go into someone that's even doing 50 or 60. That's a lot of the collision stuff. So yes, speed is a major factor of that, but a lot of that has to do with the geometrics of the freeway.
Go ahead, Deputy Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, specifically on Awadilse, when you're heading southbound on Soledad, there's a curve, and we have single vehicle rollovers weekly. Not necessarily do they get a report taken, because if they're single vehicle and they don't want to go through their insurance stuff, it's just not documented, especially if they don't have significant injuries and all that other stuff. They're not merging because they're by themselves. They were just speeding, and when the freeway starts curving, there is where they always lose control. Every single time it comes on the radio, I can almost pinpoint the curve where that happens, and it's always excessive speeding, distracted. I've seen women doing their full makeup, during commuting hours, without watching. I've seen guys reading newspapers while driving. There's a lot of other factors going on there, and yeah, enforcement, we could always use it more, but I know that's not going to occur. These guys know very well that we're having a hard time staffing our minimum staffing right now. So unless something dramatically changes in the state and we get a plethora of bodies, I'm talking about like thousands of officers, that the staffing isn't going to change. But I will call CHP, talk to them, and then for the Acton side, talk to the AV station, and talk to the guys. Go to one of the briefings and talk to the guys that are pushing cars on the road, and they will tell you flat out what they're seeing. How they're riding it or what else is going on is a little bit different.
Thank you, deputies. No problem. I'm just going to support what the deputy, what she stated, is hard data will only tell you so much of the story. Baseball, you hit 280, that's a good hitter. But when does he get to hit? And like he said, if you go to and talk to the officers, then you get a more truer picture, and they can suggest to you what they see, because they're there day in, day out, and what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I do remember the other thing. As I recall, because I went to the meeting in, I think it was Palmdale, and a big problem or frustration, because almost everybody at that meeting was from Palmdale, and they were frustrated that this project is only has funding to fix the parts that are in Santa Clarita. That's what I understood. If I'm misspeaking, please correct me. But, and that's sort of the typical way, right? Everybody in Yellow Valley gets shafted, whatever. And Santa Clarita gets all the money. But one thing we might want to think about as we talk about this is, if they do all the construction on the 14 freeway, they add Acton into that. If you look at the map, actually, the most work, if they funded the whole project, most of the work would be done in Acton, because Acton's the only area that has our whole community 10 miles long, because we're 10 miles wide, our community, on both north and southbound lanes. So our community would probably be the most affected, with people trying to avoid the freeway because of all the construction and going on our surface streets. So it is possible that this community might be against having the segment 3 done, because it will drive people onto our roads. And you remember, I think it was Troy that said he used to have to go down and because Waze and these apps would put people on Carson Mesa, the dirt road, and he'd have to go down and help haul people out of the sand because they don't.
It exacerbates what could be a congestion anyway. So
Yep.
If you're between those two, bring it now.
Yeah, so that might be that might be a comment. If they do segment, they need to have a stop sign at Red Rover, because that's the key access for our high school kids, and we need a stop sign at Shannon Valley.
You segment 2 though. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is if something breaks up traffic down there, highway there, in country. I mean, my kids go to school down Santa Clarita, and they take Sierra Highway like most times, because one little thing with the 500 on that 14. So that is one. I mean, it's not an unheard of thing. I would imagine the second there's any delay on that, and just to even comment further, like I'm gonna call it best because I think it really is best. Don't know if that's the anybody here, but the mess is going on in Palmdale Lakes on 14, where it's like the shutdowns and stuff. It's like, I understand there's like literally no way to do improvements without doing that, but the timing is, I don't know if it would be good, but it's terrible like this. It's like, when we're having to go out there, it's like, we're not even bothered. Like,
well, you just brought something else on, like when the 5 shuts down, what, give us that experience, make those comments about, safety and what it looks, how it backs up on the road. When the 5 shuts down and Project Snowflake kicks in,
yes,
people come to mention that. And to Jackie's other point, you're more than welcome as the town council to make a comment as a group, but as individuals, your residents, you're more than welcome to make comments. We don't need to know.
I think it'll be difficult to get a town council letter done.
That's what I'm getting at. That's why I'm getting at.
I think it's more likely that loves to individuals.
And again, this is, and Robert will mention in a minute, or council, the schedule we're talking about, what we're looking at ahead is when there'll be next opportunity. So this is the first of three that.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, Jack, go ahead.
Are you able to have, we would ask for, and Jeremiah's right, whether or not you do segment 3 or just 1 and 2, we'd still want it for 1 and 2. What we would want, because of the construction and the hell it's going to cause on Sierra Highway and Soledad Canyon, we would want stop signs at 2 or 3 critical locations. But Caltrans doesn't have jurisdiction over those areas. The county does. So how? I kind of feel like we're going to be Linus and Lucy in the football. We're lining up to kick this football to address these issues and ask for things that you don't have any jurisdiction over. So how is that going to happen? Because we've been told over, no stop sign, and it's dangerous. So how do we get it as a mitigation measure if they won't even do it for safety, which it needs to be done, by the way. No offense, Josie, I know you're here from Public Works, but it's a problem.
No, definitely, and I think that's one of the main things of making sure that part of the project development team is bringing in all the stakeholders so that we can come up with a holistic improvement plan, right? That it's not just one agency, but it's really a combination of ideas and safety features that we can all come forward and be able to implement as part of the project. So that is part of the conversation, and it's essential in being able to get the environmental process moving forward.
Why don't we just put up our own? Not that much.
Get some signs and say stop.
I bet we can find something.
I can't hurt you, but it does.
Yeah, it just seems that, I've been in active for over 20 years, and that stretch of the 14 has been like a free-for-all. They know that there's not enough law enforcement, and these speeders and these souped-up little rigs, very, very rude drivers, and they want to get there real fast or show off or I don't know what, or all of the above, and they know they're going to get away with it. So, the point is, yes, we need more CHP officers, definitely, but, you know, that's a big hope at someday, hopefully. And B, you know, they're not going to be respectful until they get a ticket or they get an accident. And the people that are getting hurt are innocent people too. So, I mean, it's a real big thing, and I do try to avoid the 14 if I don't get on by 4:15 a.m. if I'm going into Santa Monica or into LA. It's like a wall that comes, it gets really dangerous, really fast. If you're 5 minutes late getting on that 14, and it's like Mario and Andretti, you're white knuckles the whole time, because people are passing you at 100, you're going like 75, and you're thinking, wow, I'm in slowly, I'm going, and they are just passing you. It is Mario Andretti crazy.
It's the American Autobahn.
Yes, and the people that move out here, they think it's no man's land, like they're gonna get away with it in Acton and, you know, that corridor. So I think really to address the problem, and we need to be more courteous as drivers, and B, definitely, there needs to be more CHP presence so that when these people are seeing these cops sitting on the overpasses and they're slowing down, they're gonna take their souped up little cars and slow down because they know that there's radio going on, there's another guy at the next exit, and the radio's gonna go up there and the next guy's gonna catch him. So I love seeing that.
Thank you for that. With regards to the list of alternatives that we had, we did have something called transportation systems management. And this is really trying to take advantage of technology, right? And being able to see how we can do those safety mobility improvements along the corridor. So this includes CCTV cameras, ramp metering, and these are all pieces of electronics that can help detect when accidents happen so that the information can be dispensed out earlier and faster to get emergency responses out there. So this is a lot utilizing the technology out there along the corridor to see how we can do some of this. Next slide.
I like that wrong way detection.
Yeah.
We get those quite often here. I don't know how they get on the freeway.
Exactly.
There's
Yes.
no way, but they do.
The next piece of this is the transportation demand management. And this is really looking at how people are utilizing the existing facility and other systems in place to get from point A to point B. We understand that there's metro rail service, there's commuter bus trips that take place. So is there an opportunity to improve upon those systems to really encourage folks to also utilize that as an option? So by mainly looking at park and ride lots and see how we can make them safer. A lot of folks say they're just not lit right, they feel unsafe. So there's something that that could be done with regards to park and ride lots, maybe improving the Metrolink stations, really working in coordination with those agencies to really kind of reflect this holistic approach that we're all looking for. That's part of this TDM strategy and being able to look at those options. Next slide. So just to what we're looking at for the rest of the scoping period, as mentioned, we're looking for all broad ranges of comments, feedback, suggestions. This is what we're really looking for and trying to hear the community, local context. I will keep repeating that over and over. Because Illinois is a huge region. It's a big county. And as mentioned, what's may be appropriate for North County may not be appropriate for the central or the South Bay cities or anything of that sort. But so this is where it's really going to be important. So that the folks that are evaluating this project up in some big building, they can understand, no, this is the feedback that we're getting from the actual community members, and really getting that into the part of the process is very important for us. Next slide. This is a schedule that we're in the fall, winter of the public scoping period. What's going to happen next is what I mentioned. After the scoping period ends, we're going to collect all the comments that we received during this period. And we're going to start formulating a response and start narrowing it down to, build an alternative that consists of all these potential elements to the project in order to start doing technical studies. This is where a lot of that data points, traffic and from emergency response teams that are writing reports, and we're taking a lot of that information in and seeing how we can do various technical studies will be taking place. And then we anticipate that by 2026, we'll have a draft environmental document that we can then release to the public and see what kind of feedback we look at. And then immediately after that, we'll finalize the environmental document, better getting us closer to that shovel readiness, which the next phase of it will be right? Getting the engineers to start drawing things up and really start calculating things. But it's all gonna come from the birthplace of this project is really right now during this environmental process.
You guys may not have an answer, but I'm kind of curious. There's all the talk, like we talked about Metro coming in and saying, hey, we're gonna run more trains. I've never got the impression that there's been demand for that as much as like, hey, we think this is what people should do. And if we make more of them available, they'll do it. Because that would be my, and I'm gonna write up some comments instead. So I'm just curious whether we're talking about data, and if the data is like, there's a bunch of trains, that would tell me nobody wants to ride the stinking train. I mean, so I'm speaking like, I had to work in Studio City, and in order for me to take the train, it would take me 3 hours to get to Studio City. It was not, and you aren't gonna add lines to make active Studio City happen. That doesn't make any sense for the so my question is really just, is that a demand thing, or is it like, hey, we need to check the box, or where's that coming from, I guess? Because
I love your frank and honesty and just straightforwardness. That is a very good question. That's way up the
I can give you a shot.
yeah, I'm just,
So there's
I'm not
two
trying to
things.
be, I'm really curious. Like, if you told me, like, man, the trains are overflowing, got people waiting stations, we can have more trains. I'm like, cool, I have more trains. That sounds great. I love that. But I ran the train too. It's like,
So it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg and chasing your tail at the same time. So if you don't have attractive travel time trains, you don't have enough of them, and people don't even consider it as an option. So what we're trying to do is improve, we did a separate study similar to this on the entire Antelope Valley line in Santa Cruz and Antelope Valley, by ways that we can improve service and get hourly train service to the Antelope Valley and every half an hour to Santa Clarita. So that would take, it's about 15 trains a day now. It would take that to about 25, 30 trains a day. So by doing that, then transit is one of those things, if you've been to other cities, the less you have to think about it.
sure.
And so
But
now, what we just did, I'll finish with the supply. Then you think about LA County, and the SR14 has to, in all reality, compete with the 405 and the 10. It's just the reality. So 138, SR14, you don't think about rural roads in LA County.
Yeah.
When the downtown decision makers are sitting down, trust me, they are not thinking about rural roads.
Yeah, believe me, we know that.
Right? So
We understand.
we have delicately, and Jackie will often remind us on Acton's behalf, we have to be respectful when we're adding the trains also, right? We have to think about noise and lighting. Things when I told you, yes, I understand the special lighting districts, so, but there is ways to do both, to get a little more safety in the lighting, the striping, the signage, without affecting the wildlife, without affecting the night skies. So technology's advanced on some of these.
No, I think it's fair. It just, I feel oftentimes the push is to say that if we just do more mass transit, it can fix everything. It's like, the reality is it's not.
No, you gotta, and what we often see is, special event service is really being used.
Sure.
Hollywood Bowl,
Yeah,
Dodger Express.
Yeah.
So what Metro's realized, so there's a combination for the county of, a hub and spoke, right? Trying to get people to have, so that, like you just said, it's not a 3-hour connection.
Sure.
It doesn't even compete with the car.
Yeah.
But what we're experiencing all over California is more unreliable travel times. Sure. You just don't know what car, by airplane, when you're actually getting to where. So that's what we're trying to work on.
And I think where I'm thinking is I would hate to see that, like, hey guys, good news, we tripled the amount of trains, and we didn't do anything about the lines of the freeway.
Yeah.
Because that's our solution. It's like, that's not a solution.
No.
The relation of Palmdale, Lancaster is exponentially growing from the time that the 14 went in, and probably the hammer and everything's a nail solution is like, you don't live down the lane because there's tens of cars that were ever on there.
Right.
Or ever thought that would be on there. So, that just, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, no, that, and
you
again,
wouldn't
that's
do
the
their
challenge,
same-
because same thing, and as you mentioned, South Bay takes some of this up. They wouldn't even consider, expansion, right?
Yes.
But here, how does Sierra Highway, how does the other transit app, Antelope Valley Transit, Santa Rita Transit, how do we work all these to give you mobility options,
Makes sense.
right? Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is give you mobility options that make sense, but not have to compete against each other.
And thank you for that. I think this is what I really appreciate about working on projects up there. I've worked on for many, many years and worked on many several projects, and it's always, it gives you a big smile because there is a balanced approach with the ability to look at the solution. It's not just one mode of transportation, but it's really multiple. And having a focus on a highway system is critical as well. I should be disregarded. I should really pay attention to. Next slide, please. Next slide, you'll see a list of all the various technical studies that will be undergoing once we do have a little alternative. Identify probably traffic studies, we'll be doing noise, lighting, vibration, all these various technical studies are going to be part of this environmental process in order to really identify what may be of the project on the environment itself. Next slide. Some of the considerations that we also have for this unique project, next slide, are this new law, the State Senate bills, as 743. This is probably the most technical slide that you'll see talk about here today, but I'm going to try to simplify it as best as possible. So as of July 2020, projects that may have impacted reducing traffic, meaning that by building more lanes, you're going to introduce more traffic onto the system, you have to analyze that and identify what are some mitigation measures, meaning how are you going to make it better. But by introducing this type of improvement, how are you really looking at it as holistically as possible? And those mitigation measures are going to be part of that holistic approach. The Metrolink systems, the bus rapid transit systems, the commuter trips, and all that stuff. So it's really kind of forcing us to really look into being a holistic approach and not just looking at, hey, we are only going to look at the highway, or we're only going to look at transit. Like, what can we do holistically in order to get to that next level? Right. And these mitigation strategies really fall into kind of these 4 categories. Metro did a pilot study meeting to identify how these mitigation measures would be kind of thought of and kind of addressed. And they really with this project, they really fall in the top upper 2 categories: the transit van pool and the active transportation. The active transit van pool, this is really looking at operationals, just as TSM, TBM improvements, but also active transportation. There is this big push to also incorporate bicycle and pedestrian improvements around the systems, not only within But also arterials that cross perpendicular or across the SR14. So how are we making those crosswalks safer for pedestrians when a vehicle's trying to ramp and tries to make a 60-mile-an-hour turn on a right, try to be, but by doing some improvements, we can really look at also securing the safety of pedestrians and sidewalks there as well. Next, wildlife corridors, these are some of the areas that we've also identified that there are some current culverts. Not that we're going to be proposing new culverts, but we're going to be looking at see how we can improve them to better facilitate that passage and save not only for the wildlife habitat, but also most importantly for the transient person that's moving along the SR14. Next slide. So next slide. I'm sorry. Oh, perfect. So this is the public comment period. Danielle, you want to take over after this?
Yeah, and this is so meaningful. You have such substantive insight, and there's such I feel like a comprehensive, I think the word was used, multimodal. How can we be integrate our systems multimodal? And I just wanted to piggyback on the point about you kind of need all of it, right? You need robust infrastructure. Infrastructure is really important, and it's always noticeable when it's not working well, unfortunately. So just hearing your comments, what you really want to do tonight is actually email them to the sr14@metro.net email. So please email them. That's probably your easiest way. It comes to us instantaneously. We'll see it tonight. This is through December 4th. You can also call it in 213-922-4222, and you can leave several voicemails if you'd like. All those will convert right to transcript, so it becomes part of the record through December 4th. And you can also send regular mail to Caltrans, which is an option. We'll give you a bit of a grace period of a day or two to reach Caltrans, but it's 100 South Main Street, Suite 100, MS16A, Los Angeles 90012. But yeah, it would be great to get your comments on the voicemail between now and December 4th, or on the email. Yeah, and then you can also, if you would prefer to do that tonight, that's fine too. Either way, all options are great. So really, all the comments we heard tonight, we were actively listening, we've been taking informal notes, but to count for the record, you've got to get it in writing. You can each individually submit your thoughts, bullets, whatever you want, through December 4th. So thanks so much. You're happy to continue to answer any questions informally, but during the scoping period, really appreciate you getting your comments in for the record.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
One last comment is, before I would like to see the county start to look at the 14 freeways as different freeways than others in LA. It's a commuter freeway. What's it, 75% of the people who live in Ponta Lancaster commute to work. It's not a normal freeway. So therefore, I'd like you to take a look at eliminating the carpool lane. Because we see if we're coming up from Santa Clarita up to Agua Dulce, you have 3 lanes. You have a carpool lane and 2 lanes. And you have a truck going 30 miles an hour and a truck going 31 miles an hour. You're forced to go into the carpool lane, even though you're not a carpool lane, or you're stuck waiting. So if you had 4 open lanes, then you would have an additional lane for that driver. They have 2 lanes to move into instead of being stuck or illegally going into the carpool lane. And,
What's the comment?
And lights on the freeway.
We've gotten some of them, every comment you reinforces certain themes, so you can start seeing in the inbox, you see a predominance of this theme or that, and so we've seen some lighting comments, but more is appreciated as well.
Yeah, just so you point before you do that, just a point. There's a lot of pressure on that HOV lane to make it 24/7. And so that's a comment we love. Yeah. So, I don't know how we comment collective groan.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's, because to your unique comment, where else in LA County do you see any HOV lane that's not 24/7? So there's pressure to take it the other way.
But like I said, we're a different freeway.
I know, and that's why it's important to hear that.
Let me communicate that, is what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Is an HOV considered a mitigation for the VMT issue?
I would have to look into that specific example, but my understanding it could be.
Okay. So that might make it even harder to get rid of it.
The VMT
Yeah,
issue.
Jackie, that's, you're one step ahead of the comment I made. The pressure from VMT is partly why they would like to make HOV 24/7.
Robert, I have a question.
Yes.
I realize this is in the very, very beginning stages. Do you have any idea of when we might hear back from the results after you reviewed all of this? And my concern is, yeah, I know you've had this open for several months now to get comments, but I don't know what kind of comments you're going to get from ACT, because I don't think our community is very aware of too much of what's going on with S-14. I could be wrong, but I'm concerned that we're not going to get a lot of comments, and we've got 10 miles of the project, which is 1/3 of the project, is what I'm understanding. So I'm concerned, and I'd like to know when it's possible.
So that's a really good point. One of our next stages after we close the scoping period is to do a scoping summary report, where we're going to be able to identify all the various comments that we have received, and of course we're going to work towards the draft environmental document. We're going to be required to respond to each comment that has actually been submitted to the project during the scoping period. And we're going to work towards that. So that won't be until we get to the draft. Now, one thing I do want to encourage, that even though the scoping period is over, that doesn't mean communication stops. And I encourage for us to continue working us and inviting us to here to your home so that we can provide updates and encourage that type of feedback. Because I don't want us to just come in here, ask for feedback, and then we disappear for a year, and then surprise, we got the draft. No, I would really appreciate having that.
Open, it's actually, it got out ahead of the 45 days, to be honest, but it had advance notice to everyone that we're starting a 45-day comment period, and these are our meeting dates. So it looks something like this, and we did get some people that did receive this, so that was really good to hear. And it went, through the study, the 3 segments, so it should have reached people at least a mile wide. Now, it's not legally required, and we actually talked about the bare minimum, do a quarter mile. We really went above and beyond that quarter mile or half mile standard, but it's just very expensive, so we cut it off at a mile. But we still have next door, just for awareness, another comment I'd love to see your comments is how to reach folks in this airside next door for all the North County zip codes. So we included all of the zip codes. Metro has access to a next door that reaches all of them. And so we put posts, well in advance on next door. We did social media to the cities, push it out. I think the town council might have as well, I don't know. But try to push it out to your constituents.
Guys, get it out to the community, be able to have some feedback, or make sure that we get you guys invited to the
Gentlemen's been.
Yeah, it just seems like that there's a lot of lane closures that we have, that there's doesn't be a reason why during tomorrow, these guys can't be out there ripping out these lanes that we're not using them, and get these things going now, rather than wait all the spring, and just have a large project like that. It's not small, and then from the opposite way that the traffic is coming from that point, it's gonna go faster, but it's not gonna affect anything getting into it, what I'm trying to do it, not really gonna,
Yeah, that'll definitely be part of also the staging plan for the constructability of the project and how that's to be best be able to be developed without having major impacts, right, that construction sites may have. So that's something that's going to be evaluated but we first got to find out what we're going to build, right? And that's what we run a grasp and see, okay, now that we've got this plan, let's start moving along and see it and work to implement the other plan.
it seems like a lot of it's gonna be pretty easy, because there's not like we have to take the mountain down and get a lane in. I mean, there's no reason why there's lanes out there.
It won't be that simple. But I love the optimism. Right, that's counts, the optimism it. That's gonna feed me, for sure.
If you have more than one comment, one suggestion, is it more effective to do it by email or as many emails as one idea per email?
All ideas in one emails are great, because I think the team goes through sort of thematically for each email, what comment in your one
Oh,
email.
okay.
So we'll kind of line up, but you're totally welcome. If another thought hits you, oh, I forgot another one.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that, they, just one idea that's shoved into the truck lane and then they forget the other two ideas that.
No, should be fine.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you for everything.
Yeah.
I gotta get on the freeway before you have.
All right, next up we have, regional planning's update on Title 20.
Jeremiah, can I make a motion on that last agenda item? Because I know it's due in 2 days, but I think we need to, it would be a very brief letter, but I mean, I think we need to ask formation measures in stop signs and quiet zones and things like that. So, and Kelly, I don't have this written down, I apologize. Yeah, so a comment letter addressing mitigation measures signs in quiet zones and lighting. And that's it, I think.
Okay, so I've got, Jackie Air made a motion to write a comment letter adopting mitigation measures such as stop signs,
Right.
quiet zones, and lighting.
There you go, second.
That's what we brought.
I didn't do like this. All right, any discussion on that? No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote? Motion carries.
So what I'll try to do is I'll try to get it written by tomorrow night, my time, and then send it out to you guys. It'll be short and quick, but it should be submittable by then.
Where are you, Jackie? Yeah.
I am in the middle of Dublin right now.
Where are worse places to be? Oh, yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yes.
Aside, I know I wouldn't plan to rate on that behalf too, so I think this will be good. I think
Yeah.
with all this, hopefully we'll get a
Decent amount of
Yeah.
comments. I took a bunch of notes.
Okay, great. All right, perfect.
I barely wait from it. Of the.
Well, you choose it at the.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so on the next, item, so regionally, the Title 22 order rates. Yes, Jackie.
Yeah, it did not go well. We didn't even get a G. Can you look at, and if you remember, our appeal was this particular provision of the code says you're not supposed to approve new projects until you've cleaned up the violations on the existing. Just been ignoring that forever and ever. And as part of that was the submittal that we took all the pictures of all the storage areas that have, they're permitted because they've site plans, but none of them comply with their site plans. Site plans themselves don't even comply with the code. And, there's like 4 downtown junkyards. And anyway, we sent the pictures and the county didn't do anything. And Kelly came with me. She could share with you her perspective. But it was, I thought at least we'd get directive from the regional planning to staff saying, can you look into these problems and see what's going on? Why is this such a problem? We didn't even get that. What we got was, hey, can you report to us sometime every now and then on what's going on? It's like, it was nonsense. And the time, that decision can be appealed to the Board of Supervisors. I suspect Supervisor Barger would not be happy to see the appeal come back. And the appeal, I think, has to be filed within 2 days anyway. So I reached, when I was in LA last week, I talked to Anish about this and the problem. And he said, well, so what is your problem with this property? Is it the billboard or is it the storage? I'm like, why do we have to pick? They're both a problem. And he understood, and we had sent a detailed letter explaining all the violations, right? So, and actually, not just the town councils has commented on it, others have too. But anyway, so nothing came of it, unfortunately. I mean, it was worse than nothing. It was a joke. It was ridiculous. The Planning Commission is not anything what it used to be. I mean, under Modugno, however you say his name, he at least gave a damn, but whatever. So it wasn't good. Yeah, he asked Oscar, what's the story with the billboard? And Oscar said, well, it has a Caltrans permit, so we can't do anything. So Oscar lied, just like through his side. He didn't even ask a question. So I'm not impressed with, he doesn't like me, that's for sure. He's made that very clear when I've commented on other projects. On behalf of the council, sitting there for Barbara's guy, Modugno at least was respectful to our town council and diligent, but not, Hastings or something is his name. And he never liked us from the first time we commented because it was, I think on the climate action plan, he got, so many letters that came in at the last second. He said, I haven't had a chance to read all of it. So I pointed that out and I told regional planning, you give us 7 days, you drop the pack, we have a comment to you within 7 days. That's impossible to let the Planning Commission read it on time. So I made that comment and he has not liked me since then. So, whatever. So I don't know, we could appeal it to the board, but that's going to be another lift. And it'll just be another train wreck in front of the board, which I'm sure Ruthie will report on. By the way, my computer's about halfway down and I don't have an outlet anywhere near where I am, and my son and husband are asleep in the other room. So I might not be able to make it through the whole meeting, but that's what happened there. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. It tells us that it's with the Planning Commission, at least in my opinion.
It sounds like you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that appealing to the board is a worthwhile venture. If I thought, yeah, then maybe, but. All right.
There we go.
All right.
I agree.
Okay. For putting up a good fight, thank you.
Yes.
Well, for going, you guys going down too.
Yeah.
All right.
It's an experience.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well. Planning Commission's resolution, or we should just talk about. This.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we had our hearing for the franchise agreement on Tuesday, November 26th. Supervisor Barber was kind enough to authorize a bus for us. And I had about 27 of us that made the trip. Had a few people kick out at the last minute with Dawn and Jim Garbo got sick, but they were there in spirit. I think our residents did an amazing job speaking from their heart, and they were very articulate. And I was very happy that the board of supervisors seemed to actually pay attention to what they were saying. We, of course, knew the vote was going to go to approve the franchise agreement, and that's under understandable at this point because the best projects are already been approved, so without the transmission part of it, it's useless. So it takes two of them to make the project go, right? So, but now that that is done, now that the franchise adopted the ordinance, we can move forward. And our lawsuit that's kind of been on hold because the Superior Court judge would not advance it until the franchise agreement had been dealt with. So the county kind of, I don't know, they kept kind of holding back on bringing the franchise agreement forward for whatever reason, but they were successful in delaying the lawsuit by doing that. But now it's going to go forward, and all we have to do is certify the record. And January 16th is our next pre-trial hearing for the court date and for the lawsuit. And we're hoping that the record will be certified or close to being certified at that point, and maybe we'll set a court date. So that's what's. The developers are saying all the same thing. The developers are saying, oh, we've come a long way. Oh, it's state-of-the-art technology. Oh, it's this, it's going to be safe. It's going to be all according to the fire codes. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. But they can't sit there and tell us that they can keep us from happening. And can't predict when a lithium iron phosphate or a lithium ion battery are going to be out. And it can be not even the battery's fault. The battery could be perfectly fine. It could be the battery management that overcharges the battery or over discharges the battery, or the thermal management system goes out and it overheats from an external source, or there's a brush fire that encroaches. I mean, there's just so many reasons why they can fail. And because of the location that they want to put this thing, it's putting our community at great risk, as well as these other communities that are rural, and they're putting them at great risk. So, I don't think that because this project came forward in 2021, and in 2021 there weren't a lot of best built, so there wasn't a lot of information out there for like local governments. And certainly our federal government has not done a good job of disseminating information on these projects. They just kept trying to push up, and those that did get approved and did get built, we're now seeing that they're having issues. Not every single one, but just in San Diego County, 3 just this year. 3 in San Diego County. So, and then the one that's out in Edwards, it's a big solar / integrated battery storage. That's the same one. They had 3 fire events in the part of it over the summer, and we never heard about it. And the reason why we didn't hear about it is because it didn't really make the news. And why didn't it make the news? Because it's out there in the middle of nowhere. There weren't affecting, but there were no evacuations, there was no shelters in place. And so that tells me that if you're going to use this battery technology, then that's the kind of location they should be sited. That's where it should be. And if you're going to try to site them in a rural community within a quarter mile of a ranch or an animal rescue or a kennel or retired people, or whatever, then you get a different battery chemistry. But the developers haven't gotten that memo yet. But they need to be told that you can't site battery storage with lithium ion or lithium iron. You cannot site within so many miles in a community setting. And we're the very high fire hazard severity zone too. There's just so many reasons why it's wrong, and I'm really getting the big picture that the developer didn't do their job of fully informing county of the pitfalls of lithium ion batteries, right? And the county, they're planners, they're not they're not battery manufacturers, and they're not gonna know that these things have issues. So it's unfortunate, the project got kind of, I feel it was rushed through. And I don't know if county feels like that was a good thing, or is it a mistake? Because now all these events are happening and there's more stuff coming to light about the safety.
Yeah, the 2 meetings we went, the fire chief is very positive of the safety. And he thought on this time we added new stuff to it, and then
There's a fire, there's an NFPA's code, and there's international fire, and the developers every one of those vessels that had fire events in San Diego County, they were all built with UL certified batteries. They were all built to the highest stringent. They all had fire plans with the local fire department. They all met all the criteria for all the safety, and yet they still couldn't stop the event from happening.
right. But and they don't seem to talk about those incidents
No.
in that part. They just talk about the positive and then the new.
Chief Baroni did mention that there were 3,
But he didn't specify
but
where.
he didn't elaborate. Last time he was accurate in December when we went, he was really accurate about how many events there had been.
Yeah, I was surprised when he talked that time.
Yeah.
Compared to now, it seems so positive. But he was taking notes this time. I was surprised.
Well, I'm LA County Fire family. My husband served 30 years on the fire department, and a lot of it was in hazmat. He did 10 years in hazmat.
Right.
My son's an active duty firefighter. He's a captain in Clovis. But I'm not concerned. I know that the fire department will know what to do if there's an event. The fire department will be prepared. They will know. Stay back 1,000 feet, don't bother on it, just make sure nothing around it burns and protect the adjacent exposure. The fire department will be well prepared and they will know what to do. My community won't know what to do.
Right.
The people will panic. They'll see smoke coming. So I believe that if this project gives the green light to be built, and for some reason we fail in our lawsuit, help us, then I'm going to ask that there be a plan and a website that residents can immediately go to get the latest information and know exactly, like, let's not wait for the fire department to come knocking on our door, because we're up dirt roads and it's, it's hard to get to everybody. By the time you get to 2 houses, you spend or a certain place. If you have animals, a shelter in place is scary for if you've got 18 equine out there and they're not in a barn where you can seal them up.
Yeah.
So, our community would need to have a plan. We need to have an air raid siren that we know, that there's an event, and give them the most advanced notice possible. And
But they don't bring it up.
Well, because it's not a requirement.
It's going to be a community project.
It will be a community project that I'm going to ask the developer to.
Yeah.
And then we coordinate with the fire department and us and our community and all the residents over there that are going to be affected. I want to be empowered with what to do. And they need to have like some kind of an advanced warning system where either they get like a siren or something that goes off and says, remember like the Cuban Missile Crisis? There was those big yellow things in the valley. It would go off. I'm showing my age now. But at least it let you know right away that there might have been an issue. And people need to be a website and say, okay, what do I do? And the latest information and updates should be here.
We're going to connect with the first time so that there's last.
Right.
Who's going to remember? If somebody doesn't know, what was the website name? Action's on fire, out of order. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because the additional problem we have is we commute. And so you're gonna be down in San Fernando Valley.
We should have a comment on the thing.
And you're gonna get a notice that there's a fire.
And you
can't get home.
And you won't know if you're part of that evacuation or not.
Yes.
So, but this SB 38 was passed, this California state bill and Senate bill, and it was supposed to just ensure that fire departments coordinate with the project developers to create a plan, an action plan. And that's great. They're going to be prepared, but our communities need to be prepared. And that should be part of that SB 38. It should be it gets to grow language out a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
For it.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah, and that's all I got.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a lot.
That was very good. And we had to stay there all day, remember?
The what?
Because we were the last one. Agenda. It was the 5.
Yeah, we got there at
11.
you know, Chuck said, well, they may not hear you till 5, boy, you were right on.
You kept asking me what time you should get there. I said, no, I'm not gonna tell because I'm gonna say, oh yeah, you don't have to get there till 1. And then Taylor would say, oh, I want you to just have this one right now at 11 o'clock. Yeah, that would have been bad.
And there was too hot, but yeah, there was one right before us that I felt could have been pushed to after us, and I don't understand why it wasn't. But that one was just about that measure G. We're faster the. That could have been after us. I don't know why they did that ahead of us and made us sit there. It took us 2 hours to get home on the bus, in the rain, in the holiday traffic.
8 o'clock.
Just for future reference, public comments, my boss is gonna be the chair starting tomorrow. So, she says public comments will now be at the start of the meeting before they vote. I think right now the way it is they vote and then you comment. It was really stupid. So it's gonna come up at the start.
Common sense.
Yeah. Anyway, it was down. We got there, we were in our seats, signed in, and county reps were great. They greeted us and they were there to help us with whatever. And we were in our seats by noon.
And then you got to get on the bus and come home at 8 o'clock at night.
We got on the bus at 6, but we got in at 8 o'clock and had the parking lot.
And we were hungry from then. Because
Well,
it was at 10 o'clock.
I don't know, I'm hungry, I was stressed, but
We were stressed. We were hungry.
I had nice sandwiches for you. I had nice sandwiches.
Yes, but they were out of the bus that was across the street and then we.
Oh, you mean during the day? Yeah, that was probably
And we
what
not,
they did.
we didn't open the bus, the one opened the bus.
He was sleeping there.
It was sleeping.
Well, he had a long day. I mean, he had 6 hours, 7 hours.
In the drive, safely back home.
Yes.
He was great.
In the rain.
Our bus driver was great. He gave us a full safety tour of the bus. I knew how to open that door now. I knew how to open the window. He was awesome. He was very thorough.
Very.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for doing it.
It was, you know, but we had a great group. Some had gone in December and some
They were new.
yeah, there were some new faces. And I'm just really, and they get up there and they talk, and they know what the heck they're talking about. The difference between last December and November, is their confidence in what they're talking about.
Right.
So it's
scary.
Can I say something? I actually just started communicating with Ruth, and it was months after 4th of July, back in the park and what happened. That's when I started talking to Ruth and found out about this program. I've lived here 15 years.
Yeah.
I had not heard anything about this. I had no idea what's going on with this project. And there is not one person that I run into here in Akron, that because I work locally here too. There's not one person that I've spoken to that has any idea about.
Yes.
Nothing.
We miss a little.
We suffer from a lack of a local newspaper.
That's why.
It's been a real crippling thing for us, especially with this issue.
Right.
All I can do is use what I have, and that's social media, but it's tough.
Mhm.
But I sent out,
There's a lot of people that don't.
that I was one of those people, because I had no other choice.
Yeah, and those are typically not on social media, can't send them, it is. So there's a gap, there's a.
There's a huge gap.
So it's not a matter that this person's not on it, and the person they live with is.
It's right.
Usually they're not on it, and so they.
No, there's new people all the time, like on Facebook, that'll say, what's going on? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, here's our website.
Yeah, here, go, yeah.
Yeah, and then here's my email, and I mean, it's tough. I feel like I just can't, I can't go door knocking. I mean, we're too spread out. At least talk to your neighbors.
Yes.
If you know your neighbor's not on the computer and they don't do social media, please spread the word. And, I'm not trying to say that it's, big brother, big that if the project is not safe and it's not well suited for that location and our community, it's not a good fit. And I'm beyond the anger game. I just feel like that the developers were trying to hoodwink us when they developed us. And I know that they probably hoodwinked county. I mean, because county, they are local government, they're planners and they're public works people, and these beds were new, and there was just no information out there. And the developer doesn't, you're on a need-to-know basis with the developer. If you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get any of those.
You ask the right questions.
I've asked about the fabric technology, and all I get back is, it will be the latest technology. I'm like, that's not what I asked. I asked, are you using lithium ion? Are you using lithium iron phosphate? Which at least I thought they should have been honest about what they would use. And they wouldn't come out and say it.
Right.
But they would tell the newspaper that there was so much misinformation out there in the community about the project. Well, then tell me,
The information.
Yeah, give us, be honest with us. And the fact that we never even really knew about this project until it was already approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, besides the advice also that they met some requirements. That's what I think. And so I thought, what requirements?
Well, when it was approved in 22, you guys didn't even know that it was approved.
Yes.
And when they came to you in December and said we'd like them in January of 23, then you found out that the next day they were going to do a resolution of intent to adopt the franchise agreement. I mean, it was all boom, 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 boom. And the town council had never been, down the pipe, was close to being approved. You never had any input. The developer never came and visited you before it was brought to county or in the process. And I feel like it should have been, there should have been community engagement.
Well, they sent out letters though, remember we got.
That was way after June. That was, this project was approved, it was then rescinded, and then it was approved again in August of 23, a year later from the first approval, so another year later it got approved again, and then in October of 23, that's when they sent out a brochure, beautiful brochure, introducing the project, and we had follow-up phone calls. Did you enjoy our brochure? Do you have any questions? All that stuff should have happened in the process. When they started the application process with the county, all that stuff should have happened with the community. I got effort until after that project was already approved, and I'm thinking, why are we doing this? It's a pony show, you know what I mean? It was
Let's Let's not forget that we asked Regional repeatedly for information, and they ignored every request for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ruth, you're being too easy on us. To me, it's obvious. The problem is everyone's making money but us. And we're carrying the load. We're the people who are going to be in danger. And but the ones who have the gain, Southern California, the county, the state, the builder, they're all in it for the money.
Money, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like the projects that
They don't mean anything, they have no value. The place no value to our residents.
They don't live there.
Yeah,
They don't get it. That's why when I got up there to do my comments, I was gonna do another, I mean, I'd already written 3 letters, and, I was like up to deal with the whole thing. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna tell them about it.
Yeah.
And I bet you 4 of those 5 supervisors have never even
probably.
been here
Right.
and know nothing about our community, and then maybe they picture us looking like Mojave, that's very sparse, and I really thought they needed to know more about us, and it was really hard to do it in a minute, but,
Yeah.
anyway.
But Margaret has been here a few times for those things. Well,
She knows our bad, yeah. She does, but the other 4 do not.
Yeah, and I still thank you for coming talking to the seniors, because our seniors group, we live here all our life, I've never heard of this project that you open your mouth and there you go, t-shirt saying, massive. Everybody's standing up there, and then all of a sudden,
Well, they
don't
don't,
hustle.
yeah, they don't do social media.
They don't social media, they have cell phones.
Yeah. It's hard.
That sounds like wonderful existence.
Yeah.
I like to be in that.
I did it for like 4 years. I was completely off social media. It was bliss.
Yeah.
It was bliss.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you.
And all the other 30 people that,
Yes, yeah. No, that's what I mean,
and she's the one that has recruited them and got them educated and.
Yeah.
I even in a submission.
As long as we'll continue to come around through.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Oh.
All right. Well, the next thing up, this is, actually, I feel like we're recognition.
Oh, wait, Jeremiah?
Yep.
Can we go back to item 9, because I don't think we did that one.
Oh, I
Yeah, we did it together.
Yeah, I thought we did it together. Did you have something else?
Item 9 was, okay, item 9 is different from item 10. Item 9 is, and maybe I just missed it and I apologize, but item 9.
I think you kind of ran right into the other one, and I assumed you were.
Oh, okay, so regional planning revises Title 22 every year. And I took a break 2 Saturdays ago, and I just happened to look at it very quickly. And what they're proposing to strip out of the county code, that one provision that we were relying on in our appeal to the planning commission, that requires a property that has a violation on it to not get any new existing or the illegal uses. It doesn't say they have to have a violation on it, it just says it has to be an unpermitted or unallowed use. So, well, that's the problem. I went through their analysis and it doesn't even mention it. They talk about the other changes, but they don't mention this. So it's like the one portion of the county code that provides us with leverage to bring places that violate the code into compliance before they get to do more with their property, right? So it's really shocking. And so, thing I talked to Anish about last week, I said, what's going on with that? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, there's no explanation for it. So regional planning is just throwing it out, and I'm guessing they're throwing it out because it's to our appeal and they just don't like that or something. I don't know what the hell. So I asked Anish, I said, look, this thing, it's going to the Board of Supervisors on December 10th. So that's next week. And Lisa, and so there's no time for us to deal with this. We didn't even know it was going on because I looked, when it went to the planning commission a month ago, I looked at it very quickly, just the summary, and it didn't look like there was any big deal. But when I actually finally looked at the changes in the code, they're changing a hell of a lot more than they talk about in their summary, which is terrible. And I asked Anish about it. He goes, well, they have to make some changes because, and he said, look, so Anish knew about it. So he goes, you have to understand that they got to make some changes because they can't even accept an application on the property. And I said, well, that's fine. You just change that to saying, hey, the only application you can accept is one that fixes it. I said, but it's not just accepting an application. The language says you can't approve was the basis for our appeal. Not that they accepted the application, but that they approved the project. And I said, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're eliminating the critical cure that this provision provides. So I asked him, I said, look, is there any way, because this isn't going to be, we're not going to be able to talk about this at any length of time, and get an answer from regional planning on why they're doing it, and try to come up with it before December 10th. It's just impossible. It's like 2 weeks away from last week. And so Anish goes, well, hold on, let's not go too far. He goes, can you send me an email? So I said I did, and I sent this, so you guys all should have seen it, to Anish, and it actually was directed to Director Bodek, Amy Bodek, pointing out this concern that it's been removed, and